Hey everyone, this is Bryna Butler, author of the Midnight Guardian series, and I am so excited for tonight. It's just a few minutes before midnight, and I'm here on my small farm in rural Ohio. If you hear some noises in the background, they're just typical farm noises, so don't get too excited. The crickets are going crazy tonight. I can hear some of the animals in the distance, and it might be a cat or two jump up here before we get done. So don't worry about it. We'll just kind of play it by ear. But I finally get to do a cover reveal at midnight. Can you believe it? This was my last chance, so I had to take it. Tonight's reveal is for House of Gammon, which is the sixth and final book in the series. The first books were of Sun and Moon. Of Sun and Moon was the very first book released in the series, and that is available for free on most online bookstores. Whispering Evil is book 2. Midnight Child is the third book of the series, and I'm sorry for some of that glare. I'll try to kind of adjust so you can see. Shadows Rising was book 4. And book 5, the last one that was released, is Book of the Lost. Those are currently on sale in all major online bookstores, so be sure to grab them. Now, I do have a little bit of a warning before we get much further. I am going to talk next about what is leading into book 6, and we'll take a look at that world as it stands as we enter this last book of the series. Now, because of that, I'm not giving any spoilers for book 6, but if you have not read books 1 through 5, there are potential spoilers for those. So if you haven't read the earlier books, you might want to go ahead and turn the video off. Otherwise, sit back and listen. It's going to be a fun ride. So I have my sparkly blue back here, and that's covering our House of Gammon book. And we're going to take a look at that cover for the first time here in a few minutes. But first, I'd like to talk about that world as we're entering into it. Now, we had a lot of devastation in Book of the Lost. Kira, Colby, and Anne, we take a look at them at the beginning of House of Gammon. And it takes place the evening after Jumper Johnson's funeral. Now, Jumper's funeral touched everybody in a little bit different way. The book opens with Kira. Kira gets home from the funeral. She doesn't stay home. She can't sit still, of course. It's kind of Kira's MO, of course. She takes off for a run. And that's typical Kira. Kira is a very physical person. She lets her emotion fly, but she tends to use physical activity as an outlet. And so she takes off at a run, and she happens to run into someone unexpected. And that really kicks off her story. Next, we take a look at Colby. Colby is just emotionally exhausted by the day, and he goes home and closes his eyes. And the thing with Colby is he sees those little bits of the future. He's the grandson of kind of a prophet, someone who has collected prophecies over the years. So he has a little bit of that gift. And when Colby closes his eyes that night in the beginning of House of Gammon, he has one of the strangest, one of the craziest visions that he's had through the entire series. And I loved writing that bit, and I hope you'll enjoy it and kind of see what twists it brings for him, major changes for him. So Colby, that's kind of what happens with him after the funeral. We also take a look at Anne Martin. Now, Anne is Kira's protector, Kira's friend, and she's a time traveler. So in addition to that, Jumper meant a little bit more to her, of course, than he did to some of the others. She was his girlfriend, and Anne was also his first love. So his death was especially devastating to her. And not only that, but she has the guilt. She feels guilty for what happened to Jumper personally, and she witnessed it. So I think, like some people do, when there is a death that is particularly devastating, you relive it. You think about it. You relive those moments over and over again. And for her, that is amplified because she is a time traveler. She's able to go back in time and literally relive those moments over and over again. And she'll do that, and you'll kind of see how that grief ebbs away at her and see the transformation it makes in her. Um, so that was a hard thing to explore, but it's really a, a cool story to see what she goes through. Anne breaks the rules in this book again and again through the series. She's told, as a time traveler, the one thing she cannot do is she cannot change things because they always get worse. And she'll find out that's not just something they say. She'll find out exactly what they mean by it. So there's always consequences to bad decisions in my books, and this House of Gammon is no exception to that rule. Finally, across the barrier, in Atlantis, things have settled down a bit. Gammon, of course, is emperor now, and he's in charge of things. The sect of Lo, which had been previously kind of his opposition, they were defeated in the last book, so he pretty much has free reign over everything. So his story in this is kind of what happens to him. What does that power do to him? You know, he's someone who has attempted to do good, but because he was raised with so much evil, it kind of gets, he's kind of my gray character. He's my gray area. He tries to do good things, but in a bad way. Brun is very much that type of person. So sometimes good intentions aren't good. And he kind of exemplifies that in the series. And so when he has this power that is unchallenged, maybe challenged only by Kira, we get to see how that affects the world. So House of Gammon is a lot of action. All these books are a lot of action, but House of Gammon, hands down, so much action in it, so much going on. And so everything's kind of tied up, and I can't wait for you to read it. Now, I will let you know that House of Gammon is on pre-order, available for pre-order rather, at all the online bookstores currently. It will be released October the 6th. Now, something important to note is that if you pre-order it, it will be 99 cents at most of those stores. That is a special pre-order price. After October 6th, when it releases, the price will go up to the standard price, which is $2.99 at most of those online bookstores. So if you want to get it for 99 cents, the ebook, go ahead and pre-order so you can lock in that 99-cent rate. And you need to do that by October 6th to make sure you have that price. So thank you for joining me tonight. And we have one more point of business. The cover, of course. And let me see if I can whip this off. House of Gammon, the final book in the Midnight Guardian series. The new cover features Kira Ryan. You can see her dark hair around the edge. She has a gentleman's hand, maybe not a gentleman, but a man's hand across her mouth. And you'll notice, I'm not sure if you can see it too well here because we are kind of surrounded by dark with the lights, but I will be posting many pictures of this over the next few days, so you will be able to see it in more detail. But her eyes are not brown as they typically are, but they look a little magical green on the cover. Maybe a Mogdok green? I guess that's yet to be seen. So that's House of Gammon. Pre-order available now. It releases October 6th. Love to see you read it. Let me know.